Hello and welcome to the GBC Productions channel. This is episode 58. This is actually going to be part 1 of a 2-part episode, just like I did with the Nintendo 64. In this part of the video, we'll be taking a look inside of just the GameCube and the controller. I'm not going to take apart the display. In the second video, we'll take a look inside of the Game Boy player and the e-reader here. But for now, we'll just take a look at the GameCube itself and the controller. I'm going to go ahead and take off the display and the Game Boy player and set it aside. Alright, I've taken off the accessories we're going to look at in the next video. And here we have just the GameCube, the controller, and a memory card. This is actually an aftermarket memory card, and I'm not going to take it apart because I don't want to break it open. So now we're on to the GameCube and the controller. The GameCube uses these 3-inch discs. I believe they are 1.4 gigabytes, which are, I guess, make them DVDs. I'm not entirely certain about the format that they use. If anyone knows anything about the discs and the format that they use, let me know in the comments section. Anyway, on to the underside. This is where the Game Boy player hooks up, and then the Ethernet adapter goes down here. We'll look at that in the next video. There is also another connector here, which I have no idea what it hooks up to. I have not seen any hardware that it uses. Now on the back, we have a digital display output, I believe it's progressive scan, and the analog output. It's the same connector used on the Nintendo 64, and our power connector. And up front we have 4 controller ports and 2 memory slots. Now I'm going to grab my screwdriver and we're going to take it to bits. It uses the same screwdriver used in a lot of other Nintendo products. Do I have to have the lid open to take the cover off? Nope, apparently not. Let's take a look at the top cover real quick. It's just the buttons for power, reset, and eject. Alright, now we'll just set that aside and look at the heat of the meat. Now one of the first things to spot is a cooling fan. I will be taking some screws out of here shortly, but I'm going to take this front panel off real quick, if I can. And I'll unplug it, and we'll take a quick look at it. I don't think I'm going to take this front panel much further apart. There's not much really to see. This is a switch for reset. And then there's a battery for the clock and just some connectors on the front. That's all there is to it. Now let me start getting some of these internal screws out. Whoops, gotta switch to the right bit. Real quick, I'm gonna take the back cover off and we'll take a little look here. Now to start pulling some screws. Here's the power button. So here's the fan and power switch assembly. Here's a power connection on the back. And there's a connector here that feeds down right here to the lower board. Well, looks like there's some screws for some RF shielding. There only seem to be about a few thousand screws holding this RF shield in. I guess they don't want it falling apart spontaneously. Alright, I've got those screws out, and I have the feeling I have to take more out. Yep, more screws. Yeah, there's a couple long ones, just like on the Nintendo 64. Which actually isn't too terrible of an idea because they kind of support the connector for the memory card, so you're not stressing the solder joints on it. And out comes the drive mechanism. Now, are we going to go further into this? You know what? We should. Let's take this mechanism off of the RF shielding here. And let's take a closer look inside. Okay, I've got the RF shield off. Not sure if I want to take the board off of here, but I can take the mechanism off. So I have to release this cable here. And it slides right out. Here's the laser assembly, or the head, and the spindle motor. And this is the motor that moves the laser. And this is a switch that detects if the lid is open. Okay, the motor that runs the laser is soldered in place, and there isn't much slack on its wires. I wonder how much further I can go on this board. Let's go further. We're gonna try. It actually has little arrows showing you what screws to remove. Now this disconnects a switch that looks for whether the lid is closed or not. There we go. Let's take a little closer look around. Anyway, so that's the CD, DVD, whatever you want to call it, mechanism. We're going to set it aside, and we're going to go further in. So this is side A. I wonder what song is on side B. I'm going to pause real quick and see how to get this board out. Alright, I'm taking this big heatsink off to see what's underneath. Now I just need to be very careful. Carefuling. Carefuling. Alright, we have the main board out. This is the connector that we were prying out. These other three are the ones that we saw on the bottom before we took it apart. So with the three connectors here and this connector here, there's more below. I would like to try to take off this heatsink. I'll see if I can. Oh, there it comes. There's our heatsink compound. Well, it does say ATI on the front here, so let's take a closer look at the chips. Here's an ATI chip. And an IBM chip, too. Wow. Alright, so there we are. That's what's on this board. Let's dig down further. So here's the power connector that we saw earlier on in the video. Let's see if we can take a little better look at this board. Okay, here's the last board. Is any of that visible? Kind of, not really. Of course, it's all upside down. All the electrons will fall out. And here's the other side. And there's a connector I was pointing at on the other board. So that's what's inside a GameCube. Now this is a first generation GameCube. Later on there were some connectors that you see in this that were removed in later versions. Now I'm going to set this all aside and we're going to take a look inside the controller. Alright, with the GameCube set aside, let's look inside the controller. Now the controller does not use a standard Phillips bit, it uses one of these tri-point bits. Here's what one of the screws looks like. Let's see what we have here. Whoa! All the buttons fell out. This is the Z button. Now the right and left buttons on this are analog, and then there is actually an additional button at the end of its travel. Here's also an analog stick. You can kind of see the circuitry for it. It's not like the analog stick that was in the N64. Here's another one. Now here's the motor for the rumble feature. Alright, now here's the buttons I was pointing out a moment ago. How they work is they run these little sliders, and at the end of the travel there is an actual button. And here is the pad for that button. Now I'm not going to bother taking this particular button apart because there isn't much to see. There's just a spring in there. So anyway, this is what is inside a Nintendo GameCube controller. And on the back of the board, here is a better view of the rumble feature. Here's the switch from the Z button. And then we have the contacts of the directional pad. And under this membrane are the other buttons. And it actually shows the X, Y, A, and B. And here's the start button. Now it actually says menu on the circuit board. Here it says menu on the circuit board and start pause on the controller itself. And there you have it. Don't forget to subscribe for more, mash that like button, and comment below. Until next time, this is Uncle D from GBC Productions, signing off.